Germany deports 28 Afghans. Welcome back to Riks Europe, Andrew Hammel, lawyer, journalist, and writer.
Thank you.
We spoke very recently, actually, about the crime rates in Germany, that they're high, and a recent knife attack sparked a heated debate regarding immigration. Of course, the debate's been ongoing, but that certainly sparked much more debate. And now the first Afghans with criminal background have been sent back. Can you give us some insights on how this decision came about?
Sure. So this appears to have been years in the preparation. The basic problem is that since 2021, when the Taliban took over in Afghanistan, Germany has not had diplomatic relations with Afghanistan, or for that matter, with Syria. They've broken off diplomatic relations, and that makes it much, much harder to deport people to Afghanistan because you don't really have the cooperation of the authorities on the ground. And so they had to work through a third-party mediator, the Gulf state of Qatar, to get approval for Afghanistan to take back these 28 convicted criminals by means of a large charter flight that the German taxpayer paid for. And so all of these men, we don't have exact details about exactly who they were, but we know that some very notorious repeat offenders and rapists were among them. Among them, a man named Mokhtar N, who participated in the gang rape of a 14-year-old girl in 2019. Another man who raped an 11-year-old girl. One of the men had 160 criminal convictions, either arrests or convictions. And so these were certainly, very, very undesirable people. But Germany finally managed to work out this sort of like bespoke arrangement where Afghanistan would agree to take these men back. It cost, I'm sure, an incredible fortune and lasted years in the preparation. And of course, they announced it one day before actually just a few days before regional elections in East Germany to have the maximum political impact.
And you mentioned that it's been years in the making, but the media do portray it as though the sort of last nail in the coffin was the most recent attack in Solingen. But so this is a project that's been ongoing for quite some time.
Yes. So the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, I think last year he said we need to begin deporting people in grand style, im großen Stil in German. But really nothing really changed, frankly, and nothing has changed. The rules and regulations are all the same. And what that means is that every Afghan or Syrian national in Germany, before they can be hit with a deportation order, there has to be an individualized trial before a judge and then later appeals on the question of whether Germany's security interests outweigh that person's safety interests in not being returned to Afghanistan. So you can't arrange in Germany, you cannot arrange these things overnight. It goes on for quite a while. And I bet they probably had the agreement in the bag at some point, but then the knife attack in Solingen and the upcoming elections made it the perfect time to at least, create a tiny symbolic initiative on this matter.
How big is this for Germany? What does it mean for Germany and the future?
In my view, not a whole lot, because first of all, there's 400,000 Afghans living in Germany, and now 1 million Syrians. So 1 out of every 23 people who has Syrian nationality is now living in Germany, and 400,000 Afghans, 70% of whom are young males in prime crime committing age. And there are tens of thousands of Afghans who have criminal records in Germany now and who have been subjected to deportation orders. So they get, as a pure formality, they get a letter saying you have no right to be in Germany and you've committed a crime and you must now voluntarily leave the country. But the German immigration agencies are so overwhelmed that they almost never follow through on these deportation orders. So 95% of these deportation orders simply become dead letters and are never followed through on, and the person gets what's called a toleration notice from the local foreigners agency saying you're not allowed to be in Germany, but we will let you stay because, frankly, we don't have the resources to fight in the courts to actually enforce a deportation order. And that's still the case.
And what are the reactions of the people who are against this, the human rights activists who don't approve of this deportation or this type of action from the government?
Sure, they have registered, dismay and outrage. So Amnesty International has made a statement, and the local the Refugees Council for Baden-Württemberg, which is not an official agency, and they've denounced it. They've said that Afghanistan under the Taliban remains a very unsafe and unstable country, and that these men, as convicted criminals, could be subjected to persecution by the Afghan authorities, including torture or even execution, and that Germany has therefore clearly violated its obligations under human rights treaties by knowingly sending them back to this very dangerous environment.
And as you mentioned, there is sort of a resistance from human rights activists, and you also mentioned almost calling this sort of a symbolic gesture. So will Germany not see more of these things happening? How much will the human rights activists play a part in the development of this sort of project?
Yeah, so definitely.
And will it pave the way for Europe? Sorry.
Sure. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of resistance from human rights groups in Germany to any future deportations. In fact, the lawyer for one of the deported men who participated in the 2019 gang rape, he's already said, I'm going to appeal Mukhtar's deportation to Afghanistan because Mukhtar served his 2-year sentence here in Germany, got married, and has a child on the way. And that child will be a German citizen. He has a right to visit his child, and therefore he should be allowed back in Germany. And so it illustrates that there are dozens of loopholes to any deportation order. You can stop a deportation on grounds of illness or on grounds of family connection or grounds of hardship, etc. All of these are built into German law, and they can, as long as you have lawyers willing to file complaints and to appeal up the chain of courts, you can stymie almost any deportation. And so I'm sure the human rights lawyers and activists are going to be looking out for more actions of this nature and will be trying to frustrate them. And German law currently, in its current form, gives them plenty of possibilities to do so.
And the resistance from human rights activists obviously contradicts Germany wanting to put the German people first, or the safety of German people first, is what they have said was the reason to move forward with this deportation. But I mean, it is highlighted that it is criminals and dangerous people. So why do the human rights activists? Why does it bear so much weight in these situations?
Right. Well, in my view, and I know many of these people, and I've read the reports. They don't believe that the general interest in the security of the German people against future crimes by these persons, because they're probably, and also we should also mention that several of the men had been identified as terrorism risks by the German intelligence agency, so that also comes into the factor. And they simply, they believe that the overwhelming and exclusive priority for Germany must be not to do anything that brings anybody into danger of potential possible torture or execution or other inhumane treatment, and that any other concerns do not weigh up to that absolute priority. And so they don't think it's a balancing factor. They never believe that the government should be able to have a compelling case to send somebody back to Afghanistan and Syria. And the Green Party is still opposing classifying those countries as, parts of those countries as safe third countries. They even oppose classifying Morocco as a safe third country. And so as long as countries are classified as being generally unsafe, anywhere and everywhere, by German law, then it will be extremely hard then every one of these deportations will be a long legal battle. And the long-term strategy of human rights groups is to keep all these countries on the list of unsafe countries to make sure that deportations remain as difficult as possible. And they have powerful allies in the Green and Social Democratic parties and parts of the Left Party. But the other parties are now getting, especially the center-right, are really beginning to consolidate around the need for major legal reform and greatly expanding the list of safe countries that it's easier to deport criminals to.
Thank you, Andrew Hammel, lawyer, journalist, and writer.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Riks Europe.